All right, folks, a rude, crude, very inexpensive, easy to build septic system for your RV, for your cabin in the woods, or whatever the case may be. This was made out of all 50-gallon drums, 3-inch and 2-inch PVC. And we'll talk about all of that as we go along. I have a 50-gallon drum chamber system. Now these drums, picture it like this. And so what I did was I cut them in half. Boom, boom, all the way around, cut them in half and laid them in. That's a very simple thing to do and a very simple thing to understand. So I didn't take the time to do that on the video. That would have been crazy. See there, it's just a half of a barrel. And you can see now, remember, this is all getting tore apart. This is strictly for video purposes. A lot of things aren't glued. I'll be able just to take them apart. Some things I'll have to cut. But you can run this pipe here down like this, or you can push it that way a little bit, 90 it down and run it in the front right there. So I put the hole there just so you can know you could do it either or. All right, let's talk about this thing a little more. So this is the pipe coming from the house. All right, let's say you've got an RV, a cabin, whatever the case may be. You're going to want to run it into the tank. Now we've used a 3 5/8 hole saw. I believe that's what it is. Let's make sure. Yeah, 3 5/8 hole saw. And that way everything fits in really tight. Everything fits in good and snug. And you can see how the pipe is just inside a couple of inches. Of course, you want your inlet pipe to slope down towards your septic tank. Not too much, but about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch per foot. All right, so the top of it now, I cut very little out. And you want to do that, but you want to leave room to pump. So you want to be able to get a septic truck hose down in there. That way you can clean this thing out. You don't have to make a hole that small. It just keeps the top stronger when you do. Some of you folks are going to want to dig it out with a bucket. So therefore you need a bigger hole. And then use a 50-gallon drum, metal 50-gallon drum lid to put right over it. Or a good hard piece of plastic like that. Or a piece of metal or whatever you'll have to stick over this lid for sure. Now you may have yours poking up out of the ground, or you may cover it up. That's all up to you. All right, so the inlet pipe coming in, this is where all the poop comes from. Where is my little stick? So all your poop is coming down the line. Remember, poop flows downhill. It comes into the septic tank. Well, the septic tank fills up with a liquid and solid. And then it goes out this pipe here. And then it'll drop down, boom, and fill up your chambers. All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. All right, so what we have here is a 3-inch 90. Let's try to get you in here. See that? That's a 3-inch 90. I've got about 1 foot of 3-inch pipe there on the end of it, as you can see. Oh, hang on, folks. Let me get down here. Oh, my goodness. Grandpa's old. All right, so it's a 3-inch pipe. It goes down about 1 foot or so off of the end of the 90. And we'll explain that in a minute why we do that. All right, so this is a 90, but it's a 90 with a 2-inch vent. You don't have to use this. You could use a regular 90 and cut you a hole in the top of it. You got to have a hole. We want this thing to breathe. So you can cut you a hole in the top of it. Or you could use a sanitary tee. I don't like those on a system like this because they poke up too much. This is perfect. Or a hole right here would be perfect. Just drill you 3-4 holes in here. Don't have to be a huge hole. So this is a 3 by 3 by 2. And that 2 is for a vent. All right, you see what we have here. I'll explain to you how this thing works in a minute. All right, so we have a 90, again, with a vent. Now, you don't have to do this. You can do a regular 90. This doesn't have to have air, but you can do a regular 90 and take it on down. All right, so I used a 3 by 3 by 2 on the side. This 2-inch is for a vent. Now, this is why I did this, is because a lot of times when you put you a system in like this, I don't know where you live. I mean, some folks in Ukraine, Eastern Europe, Africa, Asia, where there is not much of a code, and you've got to have something quick. This works perfect. Now, a lot of times, if you're going to build something like this, you don't really have much of a vent system in whatever it is you're using, a house, a cabin, whatever, a garage, whatever. You don't have a vent system in there. So if you don't have a vent system, this is what you want. If you do have a vent system in that structure, then you don't want this. So just use a regular 90. Now, if you don't have a vent system in your structure, make sure that you do something like this. This is going to allow this thing to vent. It's not going to be awesome, but folks, you've got to have a vent system or else you're not going to be able to flush the toilet. It's going to get stopped up, the sink, whatever the case may be. And you can run this as long as you want. You want to get it far from the house? Run it far from the house. Run it 100 feet. It'll still suck air. And then bring it up. So you run it horizontally, let's say 40 feet, get it away from the house just in case there's any smell. You 90 it up and then put you a screen over it to keep the bugs in and keep the bugs and snakes and rodents out. Now, if it was me, I'd poke this way on up, hide it behind a tree or bush or stick it in some bushes. But you got to put a screen on this or else sewer flies are going to wreak havoc on you. So that will give off a little bit of smell. So if you can get it away from your structure, then do so. Now, folks, listen, I know it's not to code, but that's not why we're doing this. We're doing it for poor folks that can't afford to stick to code, living in an area where there is no code. All right, let me explain to you how this thing works, just in case you didn't know. All right, so turds, toilet paper, and other things come in from the structure, your house, into the tank. Well, the solids and liquid both fill the tank up. All right. This thing is made to keep the solids in here. We're going to keep the solids in here. They're not going anywhere. Let me hang on. Them yellow jackets are terrible, and it's December. All right. So I'll show you why the solids will stay in the tank and just liquid go out here. So just liquid goes out into the chamber. We'll talk about the chamber. Hang on. Be patient, folks. All right, these are homemade chamber, infiltrator chamber, whatever you want to call them. All right, so poop, water, what have you, fill the tank up. Well, when it gets to a certain level, it starts going out that pipe. Let me explain it to you again. Whenever a drop of water comes in, this thing is set up to whenever a drop of water comes in, a drop of water goes out. That's right, folks, a drop. All right. So this pipe is up as high as you can get it. Okay, put it up there as high as you can get it on your barrel. And then drop this pipe. Let's see. Let's see what we've done here. Okay. Okay, see that? We're down a good 1.5 inches or so with this pipe, which is perfect for this barrel. So this is all the way to the top, or at least as far as we can get it. That's where we drilled that. That's the inlet pipe. That's where everything comes in, all those groceries. You know what I'm saying? All the wife's groceries come in there. Her Thanksgiving dinner and all that she has eaten, and she tries to hide it. But you can't hide nothing from the septic tank man, ma'am. All right, so this end is, we'll say, 2 inches lower. Let's get over here. This end, the outlet end, is 2 inches lower than the other end, than the inlet. Huh? And so do you understand that? 2 inches lower. That means water will never back up into here. So in other words, when you flush the toilet, it comes in, but where it goes out is much lower than where it came in. And that's right here. Now this is all 3-inch, schedule 40, and this here is 2-inch. All right, so it comes in, it's going down, it's able to vent because you have no vent system in your homemade structure that you built. And it goes down. Now, like I said, you can push this chamber back this way and 90 it down, and then 90 it back into the front. This ain't bad here either, doing it this way. And well, anyway. All right, so you can do it either way. All right, so your liquid is coming in here. I'll show you how. We won't forget. I'll show you how the solid stays in the tank and only liquid comes in here. Boom. And this first chamber, it fills up, folks. This first chamber is going, whoa, I'm falling. This first chamber is going to fill up with liquid. Boom, boom, boom. All the while soaking in the ground. All this soil will absorb that liquid. And then when it can't absorb anymore, it's going to flow into the next chamber. Do the same thing again, and the same thing again, and the same thing again, and the same thing again. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chamber in here. That is 3 50-gallon drums. Hang on, folks. Cut in half. And so you stand the drum up, and you literally just cut it in half and throw that thing in here. See there? See? Look. Not hard, folks. And so she's, yeah. Now, these aren't glued. I got them in a little ways, but they're not glued. There's no way to glue them. But they'll stay. Just throw the dirt on them. All right, so now I've got this pretty deep. But you don't want to get it real deep. You don't want to crush the barrel. You're going to have a hard time crushing these barrels, folks. But just don't put it real deep. You don't have to put it quite like I've got it there. All right. Let's talk. You understand the vent system, right? You got that. You got the vent system. Boom, boom. Put a screen on it. Let's just pretend this is 45 feet away from the house. And you just barely got it up because you're hiding it behind a rock where you've got a screen on top of it. Or you take it way out and you poke it way up in the bushes. And so it's 8 foot high in the air, 10 foot high. You're never going to smell anything. All right, so we're going back to the inside of the tank in a minute. Make sure you put your tank in level as possible. That's important. As level as possible, put the tank in. The chamber, you've got about a 2-inch play. You got 2 inches to play with there. You don't have to have them perfectly level. Remember, though, water flows downhill, and so if you don't have them level, boom, 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 all the liquid goes down to the end, and that's no good. That's no good. You want this thing to be pretty level. That way, all of it is being used at the same time. All of it is being used. That's important, folks. Yeah, very important. Now, here we've got some decent soil. That's for sure. All right, let's go inside the tank. Let's go inside the tank. I explained the T to you and why we have the hole on top. We need it to breathe. That's for sure. Well, you'll say, well, then why do you need this? Why can't you use that as a vent system? Well, because this thing's got to be closed up. You've got to have a lid on here, and you might have it under the dirt or above the dirt, but it doesn't matter. You got to have a lid on there. It's got to be good. So that's why I say if you can get a metal 50-gallon drum lid, stick it right on there. If you can't, put something on there that's going to work. Now, this thing here would be too narrow, but it would be better than nothing. So just make sure you put something on here that's going to cover it, and it doesn't have to seal it off, but it's going to cover it, and it's going to be heavy enough where it won't blow off or stick something on it, because you don't want a bunch of dirt on here. You don't want that weight on there. Of course, you don't want dirt just falling down in there. All right, so do you understand how a system works at all? Do you? Okay, so we've flushed the toilet. This thing's full. So what happens is, look at your T. Look at your T. Now it takes water. I wish I could get you. I wish I could put you in there. Hang on. Let's see if I can do something different. Whatever, folks. All right, so you see the pipe. I've got a T, or I've got a 90. I put about a foot of pipe on it. Now, no liquid could get in. Look, how can the liquid get in? It can't get in on the side. It can't get in here. It can't get in. It's not going to rise up and get in over here because the pipe coming in to the septic tank is actually lower than this, what I call a vent hole. So this is way up here, and this is way down here. Now the outlet pipe, the bottom of it is 2 inches lower, or 1.5 inches lower than this pipe. So the bottom of this pipe is 1.5 inches to 2 inches higher than the bottom of this pipe. Understand? So that way, there's always this. So I'm trying to explain it to you 3 or 4 different ways. See here? So the water will never come up to here. It'll always be 1.5 inches to 2 inches down to here, because that's where the bottom of this pipe is, right here. This pipe here. All right, so our vent is high. That's important. This is our vent hole. So if you're going to cut a hole in the pipe, don't do it down here. Liquid's going to go through. You want it up here, up high. And so that's why we use a T or one of these. And this is awesome. You might have a hard time finding this, so just use a T or cut the hole right here. You know, get you like a 3/8 and put you like 4 or 5 holes up here. A drill bit, that is. All right, so there's no way the water can get in except for a foot down. All right, so the water comes from, it can only come in down there. And so when that water rises, boom, of course, it's going to be up to here, about this level right here. And that's where all the toilet paper is going to stay. So toilet paper floats. And so the toilet paper will stay up here. It won't be able to come up over here, and it won't be able to go out this pipe. There's no way, because this is blocking it. Boom, 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 all the way around is blocking the toilet paper. And so your poop sinks to the bottom after a while. It floats for a minute, but then it sinks to the bottom. Now, it fills up in the bottom, and the toilet paper stays on the top. And what do you have in between the poop and the toilet paper? Clear, clean, drinkable water. It's not drinkable, folks, but it is what we call clear water. And that's what's going to come out to here, just clear water. All right, did you understand that? Oh my goodness, folks, what is wrong with you? All right, so, hang on, I gotta sneeze. Oh, Lord. All right, so for septic, you just can't beat this stuff, folks. I am telling you. You can't beat this stuff, period. This stuff, the pipe can be wet. It doesn't matter. So it's blue, rain and shine. It's rain or shine. Rain and shine. Blue, rain and shine. What else, folks? Did I forget anything at all? Now, see, if you're smart, you just put your little cap back in there. And if you're going to dip this out with a bucket, still make this hole just doable. And then when the time comes for you to dip it out with a bucket, then you can open her on up. Now, if you're going to dip it out with a bucket, this is for you folks that live in another country. You ain't going to be dipping nothing out with a bucket here in this country. I don't think there may not be code in some places, but you just can't throw sewage here in the U.S. just anywhere. But so let's say you live in, I don't know, Ukraine, You've having issues because of Russia. And so you've had to build something like this. Look at it, folks. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. That's not bad. And so easy to do. And so you've had to make something like this. So, so you cut it up, and when you go to dig it, now you can dig right next to your septic tank, just right next to it, and dip it out and throw it in the hole. Dip it out and throw it in the hole. You're not really worried about anything except for the toilet paper on top, pretty much. I mean, it's going to take years of poop for it to fill up enough where it's going to give you an issue. Now, when that day comes, you do the same thing, but you're going to be taking liquid and solid out on that day. But for the first several years, you should be able, depending on how many people live in the house or how much your wife eats. Now, she might eat a lot. And if she does, you might be dipping that poop out sooner than later. Anyway, so you just dip that toilet paper and just cover it up, and it's going to turn to soil. Anyway, folks, this thing is, I got to get busy here. I got to pull this back out. I did this on a Sunday for you folks. Anyway, folks, so that's it. She ain't bad. I've seen worse. Now, remember, you don't have to have this. If you have a vent system in your structure, well, don't do this. It just doesn't make any sense. You've already got a vent system. But a lot of times in a situation like this, there's no vent system in the structure. If you have a camper, then you should already have a vent system in that camper. But if it's real old, I don't know. So if you're not sure, do this. And then if the stink is too bad, cap it off. You can just put a cap on it. Boom. And then when it's in use, or if it starts giving you trouble, just pull the cap off. No more trouble. Voila. So this is a vent system for your structure. You can actually, I put it here, but you can actually put it here if you want. You don't have to put it here. You can put it here. Anyway, Let's don't get all complicated. This is a vent system as well. Now, you probably wouldn't have to have that if you have this, but let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. Always do it in here, because if you had to cap this off, yeah, you'd be in trouble. Always do this in here for sure, and then this is optional. And this is kind of crazy, but I'm a crazy person. All right, folks, just a barrel cut in half. Stand it up straight, cut it all the way around. It don't have to be perfect. You worry about perfection with a system like this. That's silly. That's silly. Anyway, folks, that's it. This is the 50-gallon drum septic system. Now, this is we install chambers that they're actually chambers, infiltrator chambers, that do this very same thing. Very same thing. It's the same exact. These are cheap. This is a cheap chamber system. It acts and works just like the ones that you spend so much money on. So if you're going to go buy these, they're going to be, well, you can get them in different sizes, but your usual size is 3 feet by 4 feet. Now these are this is 4 feet, roughly, pretty close, but this isn't 3 feet. I don't know what that is. It looks more like 2 foot down at the bottom. And so you see how much I dug here? You don't have to do that. Now, installing an actual real septic system, you can't do what I just did here. You can't dig too much. And so whenever you dig, if you're using a barrel, measure the width of the barrel. Just measure the center of the barrel, and that'll be your bottom of your chamber. And that's what you want to dig. You want to dig that wide, and really no wider. An inch or two wider ain't going to hurt. But yeah, awesome. All right, folks, we will see you.